and I'm going to kick things off right now. As anyone comes in, whether we have hundreds or thousands or 5 people, this is the very first Meet the Founders event with ThinkFISH. Pretty fired up for what we're all doing and where we're going, the direction. And this is a great opportunity for us to be able to share with all of our audience, all of our members, investors, founders, startups, even our partners, to let them know where we are around the world, what we're doing, and where we see the vision of this concept to make sure that we're building out those investor relations and making sure that the founders are getting funded. So that is really what ThinkFISH is. I'm fired up, and we're going to kick it off. So first, I'm Patrick McGuire. I'm your host and moderator here with the ThinkFISH Meet the Team. We got an awesome CEO, Ben Padnos. Ben, give us a little hi.
Hey, thanks for including me. This is awesome, Pat.
We're going to have fun on this, and there's many more coming that'll be a little more regimented, but this is really just us talking and having a hangout session for everybody. I got awesome, killer, the beast, COO Freizle. Freizle, say howdy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for watching. Happy to be here. Thanks, Pat.
I'm really excited because I want to tell everyone right now from around the world, Freizle is over in the Philippines, so she's being really polite by saying good morning to the rest of us. Middle of the day, middle of the night, I should say. And back to the U.S., we've got our CSO, full of strategies and brains, Cliff Jones. How you doing, buddy?
Morning, everybody. Hopefully my landscaper isn't going to interrupt our global broadcast today.
Absolutely.
Great to be here with you guys.
Great. And the fearless sales leader, VP Sales, Connor Nolan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for setting this up, Pat. Excited.
Awesome. Well, like I said, this is really about making sure that our founders, investors, friends, partners, they all know what we're doing, where we're going, and who we are, what makes us tick. This is the executive leadership team, and I will obviously introduce myself. I'm Patrick McGuire, the Chief Revenue Officer here at ThinkFISH, and I'm pretty fired up for this. So I've got a little bit of notes and a little bit of conversation to go on, and I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed investors, members of ThinkFISH, super fans around the world, and founders all over, welcome to our community. Welcome to the Reef. This is your Meet the Team event, as I said, and today we embark on a journey that is new and different. We delve into the deep waters of who we are and what makes us tick, why we're dedicated to bridging the gap between the visionary founders and the investors world, and how we do that. We're going to talk about how we're able to gather and be privileged to be able to work with amazing founders and incredible investors and individuals in general. It's not just about the companies and the teams, it's the people. And that's a big difference for what we're doing. And really to help share your missions and visions as founders, and to help you investors be able to raise the funds and invest them the way you want them to be done. Whether you're a VC fund, a startup, a solopreneur founder, large team, enterprise organization trying to grow, we know that funding is hard. And that's a challenge for a lot of us. We make it easier. But enough about that. We've got a lot of our team here, as I mentioned. We're going to highlight the value and the proposition of what we do. We emphasize ThinkFISH's unique flat fee model. Lots of other things too that we can do to help you out, but that is our focus right now. It's our commitment to providing high value without taking percentages and success fees and getting caught up in the things that scare a lot of founders and entrepreneurial organizations. And also which appeal to the investors because it shows smart founders making smart decisions. We want to make sure that we engage this audience. So if you have a question, if you're here on chat, you can throw it in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that and monitor it. It's just down in the bottom corner. You'll see a little bubble there. You can throw some chats in there. Everybody is on mute except for our team accordingly. And we're going to also address some of the investor concerns, the challenges that, makes it difficult for investors to find those right companies, and how to make sure they're prepared to address some of the questions founders have, but also to help them better prepare for asking the right questions of founders while we present incredible opportunities. And then, of course, afterwards, after the event, if you need to, when we conclude this, all of the attendees are very welcome to join the Reef. It is available and open free to our members within our community. And we're really excited about that because investors have a very private space where only investors get to hang out. They get to have those conversations with other investors, network and collaborate or syndicate deals with them. within their own community. We also have the founder space, and that is the open community where everybody can see what's going on. They can talk, they can share. You can access on-demand features or live event trainings like this. Additionally, in our founders community, you can post your company and highlight that to our 4,623 plus growing investors network in the reef. And that's an exciting opportunity, whether you're a full-blown client currently outreaching and raising with our team, or whether you're one of our community members or partners that are in the free category. The only difference is you just get a little bit more one-to-one personal dedication and access to spaces that you don't have as a free member. But let's just kick a couple things off. I'm going to push to Ben first. Ben, you're going to get drilled. We're going to have a few questions, and then we're going to open up conversation. So, Ben, I mean, really, why ThinkFISH? Like, how do you see the landscape, or how do you envision the landscape of startup investing in North America in the next few years?
So first, why ThinkFISH? I mean, what I'd say, you know, what ThinkFISH really does that's helpful to investors, it's helpful to startups, funds, and real estate projects is it's really hard raising capital. And so to your point of what's going on in North America, it's hard raising capital. In a low interest rate environment, there were a lot more checks flowing. And now the venture market has really dried up in the early stage. And you have to be really resourceful in how you find prospective investors and get your company funded. You have to be more capital efficient. You have to be more thoughtful about valuation. And so the team here at ThinkFISH can be both good counsel with all of the experience, the respective experience we bring to the table, but then go out and seek prospective investors in a unique way, leveraging digital marketing that I think is pretty innovative. And it also allows you to find prospective investors that you wouldn't normally be able to reach by yourself. Right. Yeah. So because of the funding environment, what we do is critically important to the right types of fundable teams who have a wherewithal to pay and a willingness, a desire to get help, because we are a retained service, right? We do charge for our time. We do provide a great solution with a group of individuals that, when you hire ThinkFISH, you get a handful of them. Most of us are involved in the project plus other individuals behind the scenes.
Right.
So I hope that, that's a kind of a broad answer to your question, but because of the funding environment, what we do is really important. And we take a lot of pride in helping our clients, find and get capital, get funded.
Yeah, it is hard. I mean, it's not easy at all. And actually, everybody on this table, on this panel, we've all been the founders and investors in our own projects and companies. And we know what it's like. We've been there. We're not exactly the youngest kids in the group anymore. We're not the smallest, youngest in the sandbox. And we're out there playing alongside with all of you. We know how hard it is to raise and yet to run a company. I mean, Ben, just a quick, real short. When you were building any one of your companies, tell me what the quick experience was. It easy to build a company, lead a team, and raise funds, or did you have some serious hiccups and reservations? Did you get scared at any time?
Yeah, well, being a startup founder is brutally tough. It's all sorts of challenges. And if I had known about a solution like ThinkFISH that someone could go for me and go bring qualified investors to the table, you always look at it and say, if I knew then what I know now, right? If that existed, it would have been incredibly helpful.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump over to Freizle and come back to you. I got another question for you a little later on, Ben. Sure. Freizle, I mean, tell me a little bit about your role, the COO of a company like ThinkFISH that helps raise funds or introduce fundraisers to others. What do you do?
What do I do? Well, I'm Mama Bear. if you will. So I am, my role's ever evolving, but mostly I, help design these campaigns, work closely with the clients. We run a very tight operations. I've been here since its inception, and so played a really big role in establishing what we are today. So currently, I am more involved with onboarding clients, getting them started, and seeing through the entire engagement.
Awesome. All right. So, what are some of those strategies that startups might need to do or use to attract and retain the investors that are interested in this evolving landscape?
Invest in talent. That's probably the first and best advice I can give to any entrepreneur, right? I think personally, my hiring discipline is to hire those that maybe I've worked with in the past, some proven capacity and skill set already, on some kind of portfolio, just a proven track record. But hire the best team, work with people you like, operational efficiency, scalability, invest in analytics, reporting, technologies that can create these efficiencies for you and your staff. Innovate, go with the times, follow the trends, be aware of these new practices and these technologies that are ever evolving. AI itself has done amazing things for an agency like ours. So
Absolutely. And you actually answered one of the other questions I had for you. It was in a roundabout way about scalability and operational efficiency, optimizing and automating and outsourcing as much as you can. So I know that you've developed an incredible system in the back end for all of our team, pretty much managing the majority, including people like me, the 40 plus of us that are running around. You keep us all focused. So you are Mama Bear. You are the boss, as I heard one of our team call you. And it's very true. What are some of the trends, like from an operational standpoint, what trends do you see emerging that will significantly impact the way that founders and startups operate to scale their business?
I mean, it's nothing new. Automation in itself can just take over a huge chunk of the daily, grind. But I think Chat GPT in particular, especially with startups who are up and coming, may lack resources, or those who are more involved in content, such as an agency like ours. So yeah, I mean, AI, Chat GPT, there's just more smarter systems right now that can integrate everything into one tool, basically.
Very cool. Yeah, we've heard of all the things in the past, IFTTT, sorry, if this, then that, Zapier, and lots of other tools. But we are finding AI and chat systems, chat bots that are merging all these things together and making things a lot better and easier for founders to do more with a smaller team. All right. You mentioned something about putting together all these scripts and all these pieces of content and materials so that way you could put them into a campaign. That leads me right to our guy, Cliff Jones. Cliff, how you doing?
Good morning. Great to be with you guys today.
Awesome. Good afternoon from Toronto area. All right, Cliff, give me a little bit of background on your professional journey and your role as a CSO at ThinkFISH.
Okay, so chief strategy guy. It's a pleasure to work here. I've coached and consulted and created content my entire professional career. And the truth of the matter is, what we do here at ThinkFISH on behalf of our clients, and I think we have almost a couple hundred use cases, is we use the art of content marketing melded with the science and the technologies that we integrate to affect relationship building, primarily leveraging the world's largest professional networking organization, which is open 24/7. And we my background building small businesses, lifestyle businesses, and creating that content translates here today to, for example, taking electric vehicle company, global company, done the friends and family round. They've gotten through the seed stage. They're at Series A. I mean, the energy we have as a team that we experience on a daily basis comes from figuring out how to do one of the most difficult marketing campaigns on the planet. So if you're just tuning into this live stream right now, and we'll have a replay for anybody who misses it, ThinkFISH, FISH stands for funding is hard. Let's not presume everybody knows our story, right? So ThinkFISH was founded several years ago. Almost a couple hundred companies that we've helped either raise capital or acquire customers. And we do that by discerning whether or not the company can be successful based on the founders, the story, the financials, and in that discernment, taking, ladies and gentlemen, roughly 600 sales calls every month among 6-7 people here on the team. What we're trying to figure out is, okay, can we be successful for this startup, this real estate company, or really growth companies? We're talking early stage growth companies. We'd have no big companies on the planet Earth if companies like those we're serving didn't find capital. So my job as a strategy guy is wearing multiple hats like we all do. We're a small company, low 7 figures and growing consistently. New leadership team, 3-year history with new ownership, right? So we've come from very early days to a point where we're now improving the team, improving our dashboards and reporting. And I think it's fair to say collectively over 80% of the time when ThinkFISH is making it easier to raise capital or get customers, over 80% of the time we're achieving the goal for the client, which is pretty astounding considering we're in a business of failure, which is human beings, our staffing model. That's how you should think of ThinkFISH, is almost 40 people, human beings who work behind the scenes to raise capital, communicate value, engage and chat and talk to and build relationships, which most people can't or won't do. Right? We are helping our clients from a strategic and tactical standpoint put together things that I'm going to say roughly 80% of the planet will never be able to figure out like we do. I'm not saying that from a pat ourselves on the back standpoint, but what we do is complicated. Figuring out the copy, the messaging, how long should be, how short should be, how often do we follow up? What do we have to say to get an accredited investor, say 3% of America is one example, very narrow sliver of a market, demographic, etc. And how do we get them to start talking with our clients? Because that's the business we're in. We're in the business of connecting investors, stakeholders, partners, advisors with founders.
Yeah,
that's our, and it's like mission flipping impossible when we show up every day, but somehow we seem to have fun doing it and getting better at it. So there you go.
That was fantastic. Definitely more than I even thought I was asking, but you somehow figured it all out and threw it all in together. That was great. Thank you.
I just make it up as I go along. That's the fun part of our game, right? We're literally telling stories and right, that's part of the art. So thanks.
Yeah, and we definitely do. And Cliff actually is a very methodical thinker, prolific writer, and he leads a lot of the campaigns. So you can probably figure it out. He's already weaving things together and he knows how to do this. Helps a lot of our startups get the right messaging to get the right fit for those investors when the outreach team, Freizle's team, takes care of all that. So it's always great to have these teams that think aligned but differently to enhance each other. And I got a quick question here, Cliff, is what strategic partnerships or collaborations that you think are crucial for startups to navigate this world of regulatory involvement that's the environment's changing all the time?
Well, that's a doozy. So I'll just speak from my direct experience because I started my first small business 30 years ago, and like a lot of people who might hear this this conversation, the dreamers we serve, the risk takers. I was that guy, you know, in my late 20s. I was working for a great company, but I wasn't fulfilled. I had a young family, a wife staying at home with our kids, and one of my dreams was to build a small business. So the first person I hired was an accountant. The second person I hired was a bookkeeper. Third person I hired was someone to help me figure out my story, my marketing, my positioning. I've paid, you know, we should have no qualms as professionals paying others to get what we want faster by learning from where they've been. Because the truth is, the only way we can do what we do is each of us in our own role and capacity have been where our clients want to go. Otherwise, there would be no reason to hire us. That leap of faith that anybody takes, a founder, they've got minimal capital, they're burning through that money, they have everything on the line. This is their business basically becomes their life in a lot of cases. If they don't get the funding, if they don't keep the cash flow by getting the customers going, they're out of the game. And we all know that 7 out of 10 businesses face plant in the first 10 years in America.
Wow, that's actually great.
Yeah, so being in the trenches every day like this, I've done it for 30 years, and you got to hire the right advisors. This is a mission critical activity. If people can't or won't do it themselves on their teams, first question is internally, right? We've got our happy little strategic plan, and we got our mission and our vision, and we need money. We need customers. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, this is a team and a contact sport. The only way we generate 600 inbound inquiries a month is by creating the outbound engagement that triggers that. And that's the same thing we do for our clients. When that engagement happens, it's our opportunity, regardless of where we are, to convey that story in a way that we get to liking, trusting, and following up enough to get that customer engagement or the funding we need.
That is awesome. I've got nuggets from that one for anyone that's checking or keeping management on the sidebar, on the chat. There's one in there from Cliff. Our team is being where founders' clients are going or want to go. Huge quote there. The other one too is Cliff, that contact sport. We are in a contact sport. We're contacting, but our teams take the brunt of the beating to make sure that we get you in front of the superstars, put you in front of the goal line, the net, to put it across that line as founders. That's something I missed when I was building up a couple of companies. I had to do all the outreach. I had to do all the connections. I had to do the business building. I had to lead the sales team and the marketing team, and wore many hats. And I had a partner who has great in that industry that we were in, and several of them since then. But, you know, it was like a contact sport. There were days that some founders, including myself, I like to think I'm like pretty thick-headed and pretty stubborn. But there were days you come home and you're beat up. And we try and make sure that we don't let our founders get beat up. We take the brunt of it so you can be awesome. So, Cliff, I love that, the contact sport reference. Beautiful. Now, just moving on a little bit, just so we get a little more touch here. We talk about our clients a little bit. We talk about what we do, operationals. We'll come back to all those things over time and in future sessions. But I've got Connor with me. And Connor, this is a great opportunity. You know, you're the VP sales. You're taking some of the brunt for our team, those big body contacts, if you will, to be able to have the right founders to put in front of the executive team to make a decision. Do we want to work with them? Do we want to onboard them? Because it's not a granted, everybody comes, we'll take your money and you're in. Connor, tell me, give me an overview of your professional background and your current role as a VP sales at ThinkFISH.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. As far as my background, I mean, I was a founder in college, started a brand, got bigger than I had anticipated. I think we sold products in 40 states, 13 countries. So I learned a lot because I had to quickly. I had some team members, had, you know, a lot of different reps that were supporting me from, you know, around different college campuses. So that was kind of my first time managing anyone while also trying to balance, class and relationship. So that was kind of what got me into the entrepreneurial space. Outside of that, I feel like I've cut my teeth and touched kind of every role. I've been the analyst, cold calling, I've knocked doors, right? I've been the closer, I've managed the closers. And it's great to take that experience to try and, build and navigate and support, ThinkFISH, which is so fun on the sales side, right? I mean, we believe in what we sell, and I think that's every salesperson's dream. So yeah, I've got a mixed background, mostly in sales, but it's been just so great working with all of you guys and obviously working with the clients that we serve.
Awesome. And Connor, since we do engage with clients and prospects of our own, but also some of the founders who are listening now, some of those early startups or some of the larger venture enterprise groups, let's talk about sales a little bit for a moment. What strategies do you employ as a VP of sales to drive customer acquisition and retention in a competitive market? And maybe we can just teach somebody else what they could do before they even engage us.
Yeah, it's a great question and an important one. I already touched on it. Believe in what you're selling, right? Because that's going to come across in your communication with whoever that prospect is. If you don't believe in what you're selling, you're going to have a hard time closing, and you're going to have a hard time sleeping at night. So get there first, be viable, right? Fake it till you make it works in some situations, some senses, right? But I think that's certainly important. And then communication with your team members. I've never watched a call with a fellow salesperson, whether better than me or closing more or closing less than me, and not learn something. So I think collaborating with your peers, getting feedback, getting mentorship, it's really important. You got to have sometimes thick skin to deal with feedback, right? But it's really, really important. And that's kind of my quick and easy layup advice as far as converting early and often.
That's good. I do appreciate, thick skin is definitely needed in the startup industry. It's needed in every level of sales. Even the investors need to have thick skin too, because they're not perfect and they don't make the best decisions all the time. We're not perfect, but I appreciate that, and always learning. Some people say ABC, always be closing. Us sales types would like that, but always learning is absolutely critical to everybody we talk to, investors and founders and startups and funds and firms, family offices. If they're not learning, they're not evolving, they're not going to be better. So I do like that. And hopefully everybody's learning today on this session about who we are and how we do things. And for those founders out there, hopefully you're hearing one thing, is that we do one thing that we're really, really good at. And that is booking you qualified, aligned appointments with investors. That's really important because you might be really good at something, maybe meeting people, maybe networking, maybe just building a business, your technology or your supplement company or your firm or your real estate venture. But are you good at everything? Maybe we can be the best at one thing for you. And what's really cool, I'll just make this sort of shameless plug, is we actually operate as your team. We are your back office. So nobody would think that any different than it's your team they're engaged with until they're on your calendar. And at that time, you can feel free to share or not share that we did all the work for you. We appreciate a little kudos when you do succeed, but we're happy to see you succeed, whether you share that you have a larger team or not. Connor, going to jump back to you here for a second. How do you see the role of sales and business development evolving for startups, founders?
I think it's always going to be there, right? I mean, Freizle touched on AI. Obviously, it's going to shift things, but I think where that's going to shift is mostly on salespeople being able to spend more quality time with prospects, less time prospecting. So, there's a lot of different shifts happening. With that said, I still think people want to buy from people. So I think those kind of sales best practices will ultimately stay there. But it's the Wild West in a handful of different places. It's also getting really busy in a lot of other places. So I think it's really important to figure out where you are in the competitive landscape. And just because you get somewhere, right, you have to figure out how to ultimately communicate how you've differentiated yourself. If you can't effectively drive that quickly, and I think you're going to have, a hard time. But I think that, as I mentioned, I think the core kind of evolution that's happening is with new technology, we're going to be able to spend, I think, more time with the prospect and less time prospecting, based on obviously what's emerging today.
Very good. That is good. I like it. I like it very much, Connor. You're pretty smart with this stuff.
Thank you,
You're
Pat.
pretty calculated with your responses too, which shows someone who's methodical and thinks through, and there's a reason why you're VP sales. That being said, I'm going to jump back to Ben with trends. I'm going to go through a few trends with everybody. Just think of something right now. What trends in your specific space as a CEO, as a founder investor, in this case for Ben, you're kind of all those roles. Cliff in strategic operations and content and storytelling, Freizle in operational efficiencies and strategies, and Connor strategies as well. What are some trends that you see emerging for the future? Ben, what do you got? You're on deck.
Okay. Well, obviously the AI trend, right? So, and I can speak to that, how that impacts us, is we use both people as well as software, right, to go out and find prospective investors for our clients. So our software continues to evolve, and more AI is built into the outreach process using AI and software. I'd say the interest rate trend is something that's really relevant to us, because right as interest rates, the Federal Reserve has indicated this year in the U.S. there are going to be 3 rate cuts. As rates go down, the money that you get in your bank account with just cash, your interest rate goes down. So people will be more inclined to invest in riskier assets, right? And we should see a loosening of dollars from investors.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that off the top of my head, let's see what other trends. I think we could just be the other, through AI, there is so much displacement of there's so much going on with software replacing people, right? So the innovative businesses and the speed at which people can build MVPs through no code and low code software building tools makes it there's just going to be so much innovation and so many new startups and so many new ideas. And that's where I talk about what we do is so important, because the capital that we help our founders find creates jobs, creates innovation. America's #1 export is our innovation, right? All of you often hear about China, but China tends to hear about our ideas and kind of replicate and innovate on top of them. But, the culture of Silicon Valley that's spread to other pockets in the country, like Austin, where Connor lives, or like Los Angeles, where I live, like New York City, the culture of innovation in startups is an incredible kind of ethos of, that makes America pretty special. And, what we do of helping find capital to create and drive that innovation is a really essential part, and what kind of gets me up in the morning every day.
That's pretty cool. And we are innovative at getting those opportunities for our founders.
Yeah. I mean, look, like we one thing I want to distinguish between what we do and kind of like an investment banker is, we don't actually raise the capital. I mean, you can hire an investment banker. Most of the time, they're going to charge big fees. They're certainly going to take large success fees. We're essentially an extension of a company's investor relations or marketing department, right? So we become we're fairly invisible in the process, and we're not actually talking with the prospective investors ourselves. We're going out and creating executives to have more bandwidth, more time to go build their business, build their product, manage their team, talk to customers, talk to investors, talk to strategic partners, while we're behind the scenes queuing up these really qualified meetings. So, and I think that's what kind of a key distinction between us and we do get the question a lot from people. Hey, could you do this on a success fee basis? Well, success fees when you hire bankers is very, most of them are going to charge retainers as well as a success fee, for one. And number two is, they're the ones telling your story, not the founder, or not right. If you're a venture fund that we have.
And for me, Ben, that's a huge disconnect. I can't stand that concept, is that a founder gives up their passion and their story. I'm a passionate guy, Ben, so are you, but
no, that's exactly.
I don't want someone telling my story.
Yep. So it's an exciting place to be. We do really important work, and we're grateful for the opportunity when folks engage us and entrust us. And truly, I know that everybody here, from an ethics and conscientiousness standpoint, I think that's a value that we all share amongst the five of us, and that we spread to our team, is when someone pays us our retainer and entrusts us to go out and help them find investors, we take it really personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's probably no one more personally involved in everybody's lives than Freizle. So I've got to go to Freizle. What do you see in the trends in operations and technology and the ever evolving team, not just for ourselves, but for founders out there that might want to just get better at what they do?
I think there's one obvious one that I want to highlight, and it's remote teams, remote work, and distributed teams. I think lots of new founders and entrepreneurs probably haven't had this type of exposure in hiring a global workforce in this capacity. Maybe they've tried to hire somebody as a contractor to work on a website, or a content manager to manage their social media accounts. But in operations, a full-blown operations at scale that's fully outsourced is 100% doable, and I've done it over and over again. Particularly in the Philippines, we're known to be westernized, have great communication skills, very experienced in different line of businesses like customer service, tech support, sales, lead generation, general type of virtual assistance. Even outside of the Philippines, Latin America, I've worked with closely in hiring cold callers and real estate flippers.
Wow.
So, I think there's so much talent out there, and not only is it cost efficient, but sometimes you get better output. Some may be threatened or kind of think that it's more difficult to manage a team remotely. It is its own animal, but there's digital tools right now to help you manage a team online. You have a timekeeper, there's Zoom, we're always on Google Meet, and there's just so many ways around having a physical office.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also that other one that we're going to clearly call out is you've got a Freizle somewhere in another country managing a team of 35 plus that are kind of remote and local. That's always a nice little tool to have. And for anyone that's curious, why don't you join ThinkFISH and get an onboarding session with Freizle and her team and see how they help you get those investor meetings. You'll be blown away. I think you'll be very excited. All right. So Connor, I'm going to jump to you and I'll come back to Cliff a little bit about trends. Connor, what sort of trends do you see as you're out there engaging founders for obviously business? But what do you see in trends of founders communicating and wanting to get work with somebody like you?
Well, as far as like trends I'm seeing with founders, I think people have certainly tapered their expectations a little bit on valuation, right? We're not where we were a few years ago, where it was just really the Wild West. people were cutting checks, straight off of pitch decks. I'd say the screws are certainly tightened on preparation and due diligence from the private investigator, individual investor, all the way to the big institutional VCs. I think due diligence, right, is certainly gotten to a whole nother level. So I think as a founder, it's really important to be overly prepared and overly patient. I speak to people all the time that are, running out of runway and they're looking for kind of a bailout check, right? And I speak to other people that very much understand that, their goal is to get in March funded by the end of the year. And they understand that they need to sit down with investors, have a relationship with those investors, build rapport with those investors, and have those investors oftentimes say, hey, listen, I want to cut a check, but show me 1, 2, and 3 first. And so that's the right position to be, in my opinion, because now you're getting to know one another. You're not in a rush. You're not running out of money. And now you have the investor telling you the benchmarks that they're looking for to ultimately unlock their capital. So timing is very, very important in this business. And that leans into the trend of just due diligence and relationship building. And it's very, very important right now as a founder.
Excellent. I do think that's true. I see it all the time too, is I'm seeing longer runways planned out more intelligently. I'm still seeing that rush and panic from some founders. Like, they've been trying to be a fundraiser. They realize they're not actually very good at it. And then they call us and we get on those calls, of course, and we love to help. I know that everybody here loves to help. And sometimes founders got to help themselves by making that long runway plan, by being realistic in their valuations. But we're seeing that change. And we're also not seeing those exits of a 62 multiplier, as my friend Daniel DeBow had one time about 10 years ago. We're not seeing that anymore unless you're some sort of amazing savant company. But so I think everybody's getting a little more tempered, a little more realistic. And as you said, they're tapering off in the crazy Wild West valuations. So true, Connor. Thank you. Cliff, strategies, operations, content, storytelling of founders, the reality check. What are you seeing in the trends these days?
Well, in the business of raising capital, acquiring customers, taking care of customers, and all of the messaging and marketing communications and teamwork that goes into that, what we have to be aware of is our attention spans have been hijacked, right, by technology. So technology has many blessings, but it also has some downsides. And one of them is, in the business of getting people's attention, we have to be concise, and this relates to the art. The other thing is that public trust is at an all-time low. So in communicating your value as a founder, in finding as an investor the kinds of people who align with your core values and will be good caretakers of your capital, we don't get involved in that. Our job is to facilitate the toughest activities that these founders or companies can't or won't do themselves. All of our clients get to a critical juncture where they say, we need more people. And then the distinction is the internal conversation among the stakeholders, that the people working there are, all right, we're going to go hire them ourselves. Are we going to onboard? Are we going to do this recruiting happiness ourselves? Are we going to, because winning people today is the biggest challenge we have in the capital game. It's the people who will get off their butts and do the work in alignment towards a common goal that are going to get the customers, keep the customers, and acquire the capital. So those trends are, low trust, hijacked attention spans. You have to be really good at the team and contact sport to achieve raising capital goals, finding customer goals. And that's it. That's what we do. We make it easier by willingly charging a fair fee, much less than broker-dealer, but that's the bottom line. We're one of the least expensive solutions on the planet to help a founder get capital or to help a growing, fast growth company get customers, because they can either do it themselves or they can go outsource it to us, and we're plug and play. So there you go. Those are the trends. That's it.
And that's one of the interesting pieces of that trend is we do plug and play in a world where people either want capital right now or they want really strategic, large capital over a longer period of time. The trend is that I'm seeing is I want it done for me. And I need a team. And I don't have time to train the team, because we all know that there's some great founders out there that do incredible storytelling. I'm going to tell you, I've seen checks written on napkins that just don't belong. Those plans should never even come to air. And yet the founders are credible, believable, and maybe almost as crazy as I am. And the investors must be too, because they were writing checks, but that's changing. And people want more trust. They want to know who they're dealing with. They want that attention. And founders now say, I don't have time to build that up. And sometimes I need an outsourced partner. And they turn to investment bankers or agencies or firms like ThinkFISH. I do like what we do. It's fun. We get to see all sorts of incredible people and companies and opportunities. So I'm going to jump onto something here before we close up. I'm going to look for one question, one sentence, if you will. And everybody's getting the same one, by the way, but it just starts with Ben. Ben, what's got you excited these days?
What has me excited these days? Okay. Are you talking at the company, the market?
What's got you excited? Whether it's our business, helping customers, helping the investors get what they want, what's got you excited?
Yeah, okay. What excites me on a day-to-day basis about what we do is the mission, the purpose, what we do to help get companies funded, and my core. Like, I love that. I get up every day knowing that when people hire us, and it takes a leap of faith for companies to hire us. So when they hire us and they entrust us with those really dear dollars, especially startups, early stage venture funds where they're trying to raise $10-15 million, and they're trying to go, when they trust us. And then what gets me fired up is the mission. And then every day we run a Slack in the company where I see the list of the meetings that we get for our clients. It's my favorite thing. A couple times a day where I go to our Fish team internal Slack and I see the list of meetings our team has facilitated as calendared for our clients. That gets me excited every day.
Yeah, I love that. The bookings. And I'm just going to interrupt here. Hayden, I got your question on the sidebar. Anyone else who wants to throw a chat in, we're just going to open up for about 5 minutes or so. I ran a little long. Sorry. I've kissed the Blarney. I'm an Irishman in Canada. What do you expect? I love to talk. I love to hang out. But Hayden, if we don't answer your question or anyone else, we will follow up in an email. We'll reach out to you inside of the Reef or by email if we've got you. And I think, Ben, you kind of touched on this about Hayden's asking, hey, 100 use cases a reference for our network. Have you seen more success raising funds from within the existing network or from the cold outreaches that we do to get the aligned investors?
Sure. Well, I'll happily answer that. So what ThinkFISH has built, and this is a first time, and there's just a few people watching, right? But this is the first. We're building a community of investors, kind of a more formal public community. Historically, our community, our hundreds, even thousands of prospective investors, has been an internal, no one's really been able to see it. So now we're taking it out from behind kind of our own internal database and pushing it public. Yes. So the intention is always to provide warm introductions from our network, as well as new messages, new meetings from our outreach messaging to cold or new prospects. Historically, the personal relationships that we can make are very valuable. The new relationships that people make create new networks. So, the ultimate networks of networks. People take meetings with the individuals that we queue up for them, and that person then adds to their network and says, "Oh, hey, might be a good fit for us, and let me bring my syndicate of guys that invest along with me, right?
Yeah.
So what we're doing is essentially digital networking done for you in a done for you service that creates all this new opportunities for people to touch investors, potential strategic partners, customers, anybody that could potentially create more momentum for their business.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Ben. And Cliff dropped some notes on the side for Hayden. Anyone else that asks any questions, feel free. We will get them. I've got some going on the side. We'll get back to everybody that has asked questions. And we're going to try and make this rapid fire. Connor, what's got you excited for the future?
Well, I'm excited for every meeting. You know, I never know what I'm going to get, right? Sometimes it's real estate funds, sometimes it's really early stage tech, sometimes it's, you know, something that I've never even thought of before. So I feel like I've got the coolest job in the world talking with, you know, people that are chasing their dreams. It takes a lot of confidence and faith and risk, and it's scary, right? Going out and doing what the people that we speak to every day are doing. So it gets me excited to really sit down and have a conversation with them about how we can legitimately support them, how we can get them their time back, how we can shorten the distance between them and the people that they're looking for. A lot of people don't have product market fit right on their investor profile, right? So we can set meetings quickly, you know, and seamlessly and affordably to figure out if you have it right, if they have it right, if we have it right. So we'll sit down and collaboratively figure out, you know, who we're looking to target and who we confidently think is, you know, the ultimate check writer here. But to be able to work with us and go through a handful of different investor meetings, you give us the feedback on how they went and toggle and tweak and lean in to the areas that you're feeling confident, gets me super fired up. So I'm excited for the next conversation and the one after that, and obviously to work with the stellar team that we have here at ThinkFISH.
Excellent. Thank you, Connor. And Cliff, my friend, I know you've got excitement in your bones.
Like a little kid. Yeah. Now, this is a fun stage of life. I'm in my early 60s. I've been through hell and back more than once, building my own businesses. It's kind of like we get to be these servant, you know, creative, techie warriors every day in our little team and solve really hairy problems. I mean, it's just exciting to come to work and solve big problems, be part of the solution, using skills that we develop together. Because even though I'm no math whiz, it is true that if 1 + 1 is done well, it could equal 3. There's a multiplier effect. So you can go hire people all day long, but the reason that, if you don't know this, there are 30 million roughly small businesses in America. 28 million of them, plus or minus, are businesses of one. And the primary reason for that is it's tough to get capital, to hire people, to learn how to let go of control, to delegate and empower a team of people like we have to go kick butt every day. So that's all exciting.
I like it. That's pretty exciting. It's new. It's fresh every day. Freizle, what's got you excited?
Well, I guess this is a more recent type of excitement, but I think one of our newer clients who have just engaged us, this is probably the shortest time frame yet, so a record, but she was able to get her first check within the first few weeks of our campaign's outreach. So that's just a small win that I'd like to bring up in this webinar. But, you know, I think we work with so many founders and entrepreneurs who are new to raising capital, maybe new to being a founder completely. And so you can't avoid the feeling of discouragement sometimes. Sometimes, you know, they're walking away, kicking the ground and just trying to understand why they're not able to get those checks in despite getting these investor meetings in. And then you come across entrepreneurs like this client I just referenced who got that first check, who just has all the grit. She's lovely to speak with, an inspiring founder. Her deal's interesting. So then, when you have a founder like that you're working so closely with, and then you come back to our team and realize we had such a big hand, a big role in getting her that first check, not just by introducing her to that investor, but then you, Pat, gave her, a deck review. Cliff, you met with her and also had guided her throughout her content. And Ben, you coached her in some capacity and, helped her with those conversations. So I think that's kind of the gray areas. It's not listed down on our deck or as an actual service offering, but when you do work with ThinkFISH, you get this whole team as a resource, basically, free to pick any one of our brains. And that's what I love about this. Like, we help in more ways than we actually say we will.
Absolutely. I do like that. It is exciting to hear those wins. And I didn't prompt you for that. So Freizle, thank you so much for sharing it. It's exciting to just hear other people succeed. And knowing that we had a small hand in it or a big one, it's irrelevant to us. I just like knowing that founders are succeeding. Now, I'm going to wrap things up pretty rapidly and quickly here, but I will say this. For anyone that is watching this, joined us live, or if you get lucky and I still have some availability and time, just like we did for some of our clients, you can go ahead and give me a direct message in the Reef. It's Patrick McGuire. You can click on my big smiling head. I got a big one. It's easy. And you can actually ask me for a free pitch deck review. No obligations, no strings attached. This is a free pitch deck review that we do for our prospective clients. It's just one way that we can say thank you for trusting us with your information, and a way that we can learn more about you and to make sure that we have the right fit. And if something comes of it, great. If nothing comes of it, great. As long as we provide value to you, you may want to reference us to someone else. So go ahead and click on Patrick McGuire's big head, click on free pitch deck review, or DM me free pitch deck review. Send me an email, patrick@thinkfish.co. So look, it's been a whirlwind. There's a lot of information we hammered out in a very short time. Not meant to be a pitch or a sales approach. This was about getting everyone to know who we are. So we got a little bit of wit, a little bit of wisdom, little awe inspirations, and some nuggets from our stellar panelists here. If this conversation were a movie, it would be an Oscar contender, if you ask me. We had the ups, the downs. And I'm not just saying that because I've always wanted an Academy. Thank you to the Academy. But hey, let's cut to the chase. If you're an investor looking to ride the wave of innovation, or a founder that's ready to make some serious waves, ThinkFISH and the Reef community are your ticket to success. With access to over $2 million, like I said again, with access to over $2 million in tech savings from 250 plus vendors, a network of tighter than a pair of superhero spandex pants that you'd be crazy to jump on board. This is what you want. You want to reach out to any one of our team, just ask for some insights and knowledge. So here's the deal. Reef is free for now. Dive into the Reef, unlock the golden opportunities, access the tech stack, connect with some of our team, ask them for a connection to our private list of investors, ask them to engage with ThinkFISH, get your funds raised for your company. This is what we do. We love to get these meetings booked so you can do what you're best at while we do what we're best at. So because when swimming with the sharks at ThinkFISH, the only way is to go up and fast. All right. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, the future is bright. The opportunities are endless, and anything is possible with ThinkFISH by your side. We'll see you inside the Reef, my friends. Let's make some waves. Thank you all. I appreciate your time.